Yo, good morning, guys. Welcome to another Crypto MC episode where we try and answer the impossible. Where's Bitcoin and our altcoins going to go next? Okay, guys, so in today's stream, it's very simple. Bitcoin bounced at the original low as we discussed yesterday, and we reclaimed what was considered resistance and we turned it into support. I did a little time analysis with you guys yesterday, and we can argue that nearest makes no difference. Maybe this low is the low, I don't know. But the question that I'm asking myself is this buy a real number two? Meaning, are we now going to start pushing on higher, or do we still need to go lower still? And is this part of a further correction? Okay. I don't know. Let's explore all the charts today together, and we can kind of figure out what we want to do with that. Okay. Also today we've got hidden bearish divergence on Ethereum. The best chart probably to use to quickly just point this out is this chart. Let me just click on the ETH pairing. And what do we have there? We've got a higher high in price, a lower high on the RSI. Sorry, guys. It's on the weekly. Good morning, Rudo. Hope you had a nice sleep. Okay, there you have it. Higher high in the RSI, lower high in price. Okay, and the question that I have myself or asked myself is this the beginnings of what would be the retrace? And what would happen if we do not go a higher high? So that's why I'm still betting that ETH needs to sweep that, but we need to unpack that today. That hidden bearish divergence, it's there, and that can ultimately spoil our alt season. You can see that the major majority of alts in this area is starting to turn relatively flat in relation to BTC, with a few outliers. ENA being one of those that I shared with you guys. Uni is climbing up the ladder. I said to you guys, you need to look at Uni and so forth. So these coins and a few others needs to be discussed. So tickles your fancy, you know what to do. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, share the video with a friend, and let's get into this. Okay, so let's get serious. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Stefan. Can you look at file? Wow, it's already throwing the request. Good morning, Rune. Yeah, guys, tell me what you're holding today. Okay, so let's get into Bitcoin real quick. This is the important one because it determines whether the rest of the market's going to remain bullish. Now, the 4-hour time frame, what I did do is I updated this chart with supply and demand raise so that we can have an idea of where we are within this channel. Now, what I'm going to do with you guys, just to streamline or to take away a lot of the clutter that can sometimes be on a screen as you go through all the ideas and narratives that could potentially impact price. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to move all those together into a little group here. And what did I do with that? Now I unselected them, or they disappeared somewhere. Oh, come on. They're still there. I don't know where they are on the... sorry, guys. This is now the perks of doing these things live. If I screw up, you have to stomach and literally look at me doing it again. So I do apologize if that is the case. There we go. And I'm just going to click on that. There you go. Let's just do this. Okay. So now what do we have here is we've got a couple of call outs. I'll maybe just switch them off as well. There we go. Okay. If ever you want to do this and you may be new to trading, I use the object tree function for that, which means then I can switch the stuff on and off and so forth. And the idea is to group this stuff, because if you group stuff, you can group a strategy together and then hide it all together. Okay, so there's a little trading view tip for those that are maybe new. Okay, to trading view. Okay, so what do we have? We've got supply in the market. Now, where did I get this? I got this from this previous area where we had supply. So the question is, are we here for today in this regard? Now, what needs to happen in order for us to say that it's not going to go lower again? Well, simple. Any positions you take should not be taken out anymore. As soon as we fall below the axis, it's this yellow line here. I'll make it nice and thick for you so you can pick it up. This axis, then it brings the question in that we're going to maybe go and visit these support areas. So if you maybe have a narrative out there or an analysis and you're saying to yourself, well, I think we're still going to go deeper and hit that CME gap. There's a lot of guys saying that the CME is not filled properly and we're going to go lower still. I would rather say to you, don't plan for this. Rather plan. You guys, can you hear the wind? It's crazy out there. We've got like 50 kilometer per hour gust winds today. It is insane, the wind. Hope the house will stand. And in any case, to get back to the point, so if you've got targets and you're sitting down here and you're asking yourself, hey, we're going to fill the CME gap properly, I would rather say not to think that way. Rather plan for the market to disappoint you in that regard, because I think there's a lot of people hoping for a little bit of a dip, especially when something starts becoming really successful and bullish. A lot of people want it to dip. You see there? Me. I don't know if you wanted to dip a little bit lower as well, but a lot of people wanted to dip purely because, they don't want other people to make money if they're not making money with it. So I want to say to those guys, sorry, you missed the bus. The hope is that we need to lock this in. And the basis is as simple as this. Just to recap, you've got the upper end of where supply was forcing price to make lower lows. You got the lower end where demand was trying to turn the tide. And once we reclaim the axis, the midpoint of this range is fighting, we need to stay above it and run. Okay, simple. And then time analysis, just to give you guys a third dimension to this, the top to the bottom. This was a little messy, but typically you're trying to have the entire move retraced minimum, not more than a half of the time that it took to get there. So if we do that same thing there, what do we have? We've got supply. Look, that was a real outlier liquidation event. But you got supply that's suppressing price, pushing price down. We could maybe just move the line a little bit there. Okay. What do we have? We had demand catching the lows, and we got price reclaiming the axis. Now, this is what technical analysis is, guys. It's nothing other than a fractal play at the market, whether you're using Elliott wave, Gone, Wyckoff. You're studying the past, saying if this set of events happened in this sequence, and that was the result, the argument is that if it happens again in that same sequence, we are expecting the same result. That's all that we can do from a technical analysis point of view. So you can see that the sequence of events are very same or similar. And so what do we want? We don't want price to fall below the axis. So I've marked out the axis for you guys there. And yes, it is a downwards trending line. So it means the longer we stay here, the lower the target could be. So we could still test that demand zone at 116. Maybe we chop around here for 2 more days, 3 more days, or maybe a week, and then only runs. It's never going to be, exactly the same. It's always going to have the same undertones. It's like the saying goes, the market never repeats itself, but it always rhymes. And that's what we're trying to just point out here, the rhythm of this market. So if that makes sense and you guys are on the same place, I see Renee is holding Ave. Nino, good morning to you, my friend. Andre, good morning to you as well. And Dean, good morning. Let's see what Rodnak has to say. Morning, Bitcoin on the daily created bearish divergence and dumped. Okay, I'll bite. Let's bite. Let's quickly go and have a look at Bitcoin. I'm going to go to a clean chart and hit this onto the daily. Now, the one thing that you need to remember when we look at something on daily is always just the oops, don't want to do that. Just want to clean up those lines. Give me a sec. It's clean. So if you look on the daily, the argument is, and maybe delete, this is all lines as we discussed them. Okay. What do we first want to do? We want to identify waves. So in doing that, I'm going to move the RSI up, make it a little bigger, and say, that was the beginning of a top. Okay. Where did the divergence make a lower low? There. So this is the divergence. Okay. So this all is part of creating that wave. There we made a low, there we made a lower low. So there's the divergence. This all is part of creating the next wave. There we go. We made a high. Now we've got a higher high in price. We've got divergence. And are we ready to make another wave down? That is a fair question. And that is what I'm guarding against on the 4-hour. That's why I gave you guys on the 4-hour those support levels in the buys. The rule with any divergence, though, and I'm going to repeat this just for the benefit of that, is when you create strong bearish divergence. Let me just remind, and for those that watch regularly, I mean, I say this, I do this a lot, so I do apologize if I sound like a gramophone, what do you call it? Stuck on the same track, but it's important. You need to hammer this in. When you have bearish divergence, you treat this. Where's my friend Ronak? You treat this as a bullish signal, never a bearish signal. Only allowed to be bearish if you fall below the pivot, okay, meaning the first point. So this is support, and this is the price making a higher high. If we go up, you fall below that point. Now you're bearish. And the argument is you want to see a lower low, most probably, delete hidden bullish divergence, meaning go lower. Then there's no hidden bullish divergence. There's no more move to be had. It's not a buy the dip anymore. It's, oh shit, it's over, And then typically what the market will do is it will go full the imbalance. So it will go back to the area where the trend changed. And we're so far from this happening. I would rather say treat it as bullish, because you had a lot of opportunities where the market just does just that, You'll have divergence there. And we could be in a situation where we're going to push higher and then later on have a larger time frame correction to fill that little gap there. Nothing is impossible. But for now, the best play will be to say it's going to break up higher, stick to the 4-hour as I shared it now, because there's so much more that first needs to happen before that divergence is bearish in its effect. Okay, so I hope that helps give a little bit of context. Look, I trade for a living, but I cannot give financial advice. If you feel like you want to sell, please do not use my words or my analysis as anything there. I try and give you as much information as possible. You need to make up your mind because you're in control of your portfolio. Okay, there you go. Good morning, Mr. Thursani and Liam. Late as usual, but here. Good to have you. Guys, kind reminder, if you want to support the content, open your ByBit account using my partner link. It gives you a few other benefits, like some of these guys already picked up. I give you access to my buddy indicator, as well as some of my gated Discord features in the Discord. Support the content. Back the channel that backs your trades. Now, let's take the buddy indicator and apply this to BTC and then Ethereum so we can see what it would have done if you had the indicator. Okay, so this is on the weekly. I just want to switch this back to a 4-hour time frame. And the indicator works very simple. Okay, it gives you an analysis based on whether we're trending up or down. So the buddy indicator says it's still bearish for itself, okay? And then what it does, in addition to that, is it's got 5 basically trade strategies built into it. And the way that it does, it gives you entries. You buy between the purple line, you take profit on the green line, okay? You sell between the purple line, you take profit on the green line. So that would be a failed setup. That would be a successful setup. And the buddy indicator, if you take each and every trade, has a 65% success ratio. So it's trade for a living. It's not trade and retire next week. It's not an indicator like that. But it gives you, in essence, a buddy that's always there with you. So the way you can look at this is you're trading. You don't know whether you want to go long or short, whether this is a long or short analysis. You can head over to the Discord. You can load the buddy indicator. You can get access there, and then you can switch it on, and it will tell you what I would typically be looking for at that moment. That's it. It's as simple as that. It just is a companion to take you through your trading journey. Okay. Let's see what Liam says. He can feel the FOMO creeping in, but holding it together. Now, Liam, keep your FOMO to yourself, my friend. Come on, man. You're making it hard on everybody. And yeah, look, I would love to see Bitcoin play out. I want to be straight with you guys. I would love to see Bitcoin play out and start pushing into these levels. My best estimate, this is what I shared with everybody in the paid lifetime member side of my Discord, is that I'm just going to do this, go to the 4 hour, switch it on, and make sure this is on the 4 hour. I'm going to expand this. This is my best estimate, and I'm going to stick to this. So you guys can hold me true. Okay, I see there's a lot of scammers on the chat. Peter is very busy today, but in any case, you can hold me true to that. My best estimate is 125 for Bitcoin for top. Now this count basically points to 128. Okay, so and remember, guys, the larger time frame. In order for alt season to kick in, because I think this is the next part, alt season, Bitcoin needs to be in a sell zone. You know, if you look at this weekly analysis, it's in the sell zone, and you can see there's no more trending bullish for Bitcoin. It's just hovering there against the ceiling, and this can still go down there and still be bullish later on. But for now, it's just something to take note on. You can't short this. I mean, from entry to invalidations, 20%. You can't short this, but the analysis just points to, hey, remember this, which means enjoy the alt gains that we've experienced, because they all, look at Ethereum, close to tops. Ethereum is close to getting to, a top of a wave. And the market could chop around before we see a little bit more upside later on, okay? And that's the Ethereum scenario. So Ethereum still holding strong. I shared that with you guys yesterday, and just as this is why market can be exceptionally spiteful. So remember, guys, when we do an analysis, when you see support levels, never copy, nobody, not even mine, to the cent, because the market will hunt that. I always hide my stops below that level, the level I give. You need to hide your stops. Otherwise, it's just going to hunt for liquidity. Now, Ethereum didn't give us, and this is just a quick ETH update before we look at that weekly divergence. This third wave is probably not done because we didn't get the third wave is not locked in. Maybe this is where the third wave is, because we haven't received our lower low on the RSI. Your 4 wave, the 4 will always on the RSI go below the 2. The area where 2 was. And we haven't done that yet. So you can see Ethereum is still trying to delete that divergence. So let's look at Ethereum on the weekly and discuss that divergence. So I want to go over to this chart, switch it to Ethereum, and then let's quickly have a look at this. Okay. So important, guys. When we look at Ethereum from the previous all-time high to where it's at, it's either in a triangle pattern, meaning it is doing something like this and this triangle pattern, or we're at the top of a range top, meaning we had our first sell-off at 4,000. We barely went higher, and we created a low there. And this is the axis, is where price is moving around. But in either way, no matter how you're looking at it, whether it is in a kangaroo range market, it's ranging between this and this level, now for at least 4 years, or whether we're in this triangle pattern. Let's just make that line gray so you can, there and there. What we don't want to see is, and what we don't want to, see play out, is that something like this, there's a high, there's a double top for that matter, there's a low, there's a lower low. In all fairness, this is trending down. We need to break through this high. We need to get that $4,100, or else any retrace would be seen as a massive selling opportunity for those trading on leverage, because they can manipulate the market, and there will not be enough strength, enough people willing to buy the dip to absorb the selling demand. And that would be really bad for us. So I want to see Ethereum, in all fairness, do something like this, stay there, and then go get that higher high. And then once it's done, then we can say, okay, yeah, but give some pain, take some people out of the market. But until we get that higher high, I don't want to see pain on Ethereum. I've been saying this to you guys since there, and it has been holding true to that. We're not seeing massive dips on Ethereum. And this is this really boasts good for us on the basis that Ethereum will go and make that higher high. It's very important. And then we obviously want the all-time higher high also broken. Okay. But that yellow line, ETH is trying to get there. And hopefully there's enough people willing to buy it there, because then the 4 hour and everything that we've got here makes sense. There's that yellow line. I want to break through that range before I can say expect, a 12 or 10% dip. Okay, that's Ethereum. Let's see what else we have on our list for today. Altcoin season update is what I wanted to talk to you guys again. Okay, so now altcoin season, when we have the top 100 alts all outperform Bitcoin, that's according to CoinMarketCap, another way of looking at altcoin season. The alternative is if the Bitcoin dominance starts trending down, that can also be considered alt season. Okay. In both of these instances, whether you're looking at the CME, CoinMarketCap version, or you're looking at the dominance, the one thing that we do know is to be true. And I'm going to use this chart because it's got Bitcoin and the alt season neatly below it. So you can see the halvings, there's vertical red lines. Okay. You can see bull time high, oops, my mouse is always jumping. So you can see the bull market highs, bull market highs, bull market high expected when you analyze the time analysis between halvings. Okay. So it's expected for October this year. And you can see that the alt season happens when we get close to the highs. And more so recently when Bitcoin started going sideways the last time around. It reached that area, then went sideways. And then it's in that scenario where all the small alts moved. We haven't seen that yet. So typically the big thing is that I'm looking at now is that Ethereum should probably be the first one to outperform Bitcoin. This is ETH to the BTC chart, which it's now done. Outperform Bitcoin. But when you zoom out, it's not supposed to be forever. It's a small window in time when ETH really outperforms Bitcoin. You can see there 56 days. It's a coincidence probably that it's 256s, 100 days, 70 days. It's a small window. So if this is the beginning, the argument is it's not going to be more than 50 days to maybe say 100 days. That's it. That's all the time we want to be in something like Ethereum. So I'm cautious in the sense that if Ethereum goes through that 4,000 level, we could see this higher high. And that then could then take money and start fueling these other alts. Because alt season up till now has always been Bitcoin moves first, Ethereum outperforms, and then there's even talks of the flippening, Ethereum's market cap being bigger than that of Bitcoin. I think this time around it's not realistic. And then the large and the smaller coins happen. And you can clearly see that in the dominance, because when the Ethereum starts moving, the dominance drops. But once the other coin starts moving, the dominance starts giving us bottom signals. And that still needs to happen. So all eyes on Ethereum first. That's the important one for now. And like I said, then the other coins will have their moment. So ETH first just needs to go prove that it's bullish. Okay. And then there is definitely a possibility that this is a long accumulation, just like we had there, long accumulation, long range bound. And that could potentially turn into a flat line with Ethereum doing something like this. I don't know. I don't think a $40,000 Ethereum makes sense. But yeah, let's leave it at that. Okay, guys. Let's quickly see what else we have. Hello, Trade Delicious. You are not prepared if you are not waiting. If you're not wanting a retrace, I think that's probably what you're meaning. Yes, you have to always play both sides of the market, guys. It's an important thing. Okay, I want to talk to you guys about Solana. So let's go Solana for hour real quick. Let's just bring it in. So the analysis was that I was not sure that this was the third wave. But I gave you guys a nice support area, 180 to bounce. So if it loses 200, it's going to go to 180, which it did. And we did get that lower low. So we do have 4 locked in. It's a short 4, which means we could double bottom this area. We could still see the RSI do this. There's no rule that says that would still be hidden bearish divergence. Why? A hidden bullish divergence. Why? Because if you've got hidden bullish divergence, it means anywhere from where price is at to the invalidation level, which is there, okay, that is by the dip territory. So, you have to be open to this. And that's just what catches a lot of people out. They maybe buy the dip too soon and then hold and leverage themselves into a belief that it's going to go to 50. And then if it falls below this level, guys, it's simple. There's the support. If it falls below support, it can fall all the way back down to 160, 150. And that RSI will then definitely make a lower low. And it will still be considered bullish. So just use it as a cautionary tale. Okay. AVAX, we've been in an AVAX swing long together now for forever. And AVAX is doing really well. It made a higher high yesterday. It deleted divergence, but you still have divergence on this pivot. So 21 is where the support lives. So anywhere from where AVAX is now, all the way down to $21 is still a really good buy the dip. If you look at AVAX on the weekly time frame, and there's now a lot of TA there, but let's just mark a $20 level in there, that green line, okay? If you're buying somewhere around that green line, the idea is you want to see us go make a higher high and potentially go and hit 85 as a resistance. That is the uber bullish alt season game plan for AVAX. For now, like I said, 35 is still where I'm at. If it doubles my money, I'm going to sell half and then let it run. So nothing has changed on AVAX. I just still want to see that. Bitcoin Cash made a higher high, or trying to make a higher high. It's moving really strong. So it's got the same playbook as Ethereum. It wants to go and delete the hidden bearish divergence. If it does, there will be a retrace later on, and then Bitcoin Cash could still go and see some crazy targets. BNB broke out, made a higher high. It's in the sell zone, strong bearish divergence. And what happened? As it was breaking out, it deleted that. So we do have divergence there, meaning that may be the wave-on-wave divergence, which means that support for this thing, you're not allowed to think bearish thoughts unless we fall below 580. Everything from there to there is by the dip territory. And it's our job as traders to take it level by level until you get the right level, wherever it's going to be, and grab the buy. Okay. Let's see what else we have. Let's see what Jay Payton has to say. They will wipe you out before the real pump. That's typically the thing. Remember now, the market has, let's just see what else. Charges might be higher that we pump, but always a chance. Look, the market will always take the most painful route to the target. It's just the way it does it. Okay. Most painful route. So if you think about this, what's the most painful route for XRP holders? If you look at this retracement, 618, people wanted to buy 82, $1 at some stage because it really looked bad. And what happened? The market didn't give them that. Okay? It gave them the 618 and it ran. It's simple as that. Now, the same is going to happen here. Now people are going to say, but I want to buy $2.30. No, it's not going to give you $2.30. Okay. That is probably as low as it's going to go, $2.80. So we could still probably go make that lower low. But everybody wants to buy the lower dip and then go. So now it's not going to dip because people want the dip. The sentiment is bullish. Now, when the sentiment is scared and bearish, it's the opposite. Yeah? People don't want it to fall below. this level. It can't fall below this level. That's when it dumps first, falls below the level, tests it again and runs. So that would be the other side of it. So you've got it nailed down to a T there. Would we treat each alt chart as its own at the moment, or still keep an eye on Bitcoin? Always keep an eye on Bitcoin, because it's still the biggest market cap. It still has the biggest authority in the market. And if Bitcoin turns bearish, probably it's going to hurt. Now, the one thing is, as we're maturing, external factors like these will impact Bitcoin and will also impact buyer sentiment and market sentiment. We have tomorrow the advanced GDP coming out. Remember now, the reason we have high inflation or high interest rates was because of high inflation. And the whole idea was that the Fed started raising the rates like it did all the other times to curb that high inflation, to bring the economy down, to cool it down a little bit so that the inflation can settle. And the Fed, when it pivots, meaning it starts reducing the rates, we see that every time the Fed pivots, at that pivot point, the stock market goes higher first. The Fed pivots, stock market goes higher. Then there's a little bit of a crash and an end. So we have to bet that it's going to be exactly the same, because at this stage, with the FOMC federal funds rate coming up, this GDP could impact that. So if the GDP comes out and the GDP is 3 or 4%, the advanced GDP, it's going to put a pause on the need for the funds rate to be adjusted in September, because that's when the argument was it's going to move. So these things will impact the way that the market sentiment is, the long-term outlook is there. So then you will find that the 61% will probably go down and this 36% will move up, meaning more people will then bet that it's going to remain the same. Okay, so a strong GDP, nothing changes. A weak GDP is going to put pressure on Powell to reduce the funds rate, because then the economy cannot afford that. And that is what Trump wants to try and push down his throat by. I want this guy to reduce the rates. So the market is pricing that in. Everybody's expecting that to happen. They're expecting him to reduce the rates. So they're buying on that. That's why we have this demand situation. If that changes, the market's going to be surprised. Bitcoin's going to be surprised. Ethereum buyers are going to be surprised. And you can argue that it's manipulation. You can argue that it's the excuse, whatever you want to use. But that could then be the catalyst, the lubrication to allow something like this to happen. And yet again, if that RSI goes lower still, that's still a 4. 4 does take longer than everything else. Okay, so it's just one of those things to keep it in the back of your head. Take things level by level. Treat each coin as its own, to an extent, because it does, merit, your attention in that way. You can have a look at NEWT. NEWT was one of our massive pumpers, and it's now completed in an emotional market cycle. It's gone from nothing to euphoria. Now it's back into anger and disbelief and despair. And if it stays above 35 cents, that is like the same equivalent of buying there. It's going to be there. So when the next little emotional hype comes in and people FOMO in on it, it will probably go and make that higher high. Okay, so keep an eye on that one. Are you in a position on Bitcoin? Yes, I'm always in a position on Bitcoin, buddy. Why would you ask me something like that? I'm still even in a BTC short from 106. Punishing, but there, I hedged that. Okay. So there you have it. Let's see what else. Filecoin. Nothing to say for Filecoin yet, Stefan. I gave you guys a tweet on that one earlier the week. And for me at this stage, Filecoin is dead and useless, but the chart is on my radar, meaning that I'm looking for the next big thing there. Okay. And if it gives me what I want to see, I will definitely get in on this. But for now, it's still trending bearish. Still trending bearish. Nothing there. Okay. Pierre here, Boris. Hello, guys. thanks so much for taking the time, guys. I hope I gave you guys as much information as possible so that you can go and apply this to your own coins and charts. Remember, as always, you know, I'm in the Discord. There I keep you up to date with Bitcoin's moves. Remember, yesterday I streamed the AI plays I'm looking at. And yeah, that's it. And if you want more, you know what to do. Go to the navigation channel, get your partner roles, or get your lifetime members access. That's it. Thanks so much, guys. Have a lovely day. Cheers.